I'm about to show you 3 psychological triggers in women that create instant pleasure responses they literally cannot control. I'm calling them switches because once you know how to activate them, the response is immediate, powerful, and involuntary. These aren't manipulation tactics. These aren't tricks. These are hardwired aspects of female psychology that trigger genuine pleasure, arousal, and attraction when activated correctly. Women respond to these switches the same way you respond to visual stimulation. It's biological. It's automatic. It's unavoidable. I'm talking about switches that make her think about you constantly when you're apart. That make her crave your presence, that create the kind of attraction where she pursues you instead of you chasing her, that generate genuine desire, not just polite interest. Today, I am revealing all 3 switches, how they work psychologically, and exactly how to activate them. This is going to change how you interact with women because you'll stop guessing and start deliberately creating the exact responses you want. Pay attention. Because understanding these 3 switches is the difference between hoping she feels attracted and knowing exactly how to generate attraction on demand. Let's go. Switch 1, the validation withdrawal switch. The first pleasure switch that women can't resist is the strategic withdrawal of validation after initially providing it. This creates a psychological cycle that generates intense craving and pursuit behavior. Here's how this works psychologically. When you give a woman validation, attention, or approval, her brain releases dopamine. She feels pleasure. This is basic reward response. But here's where it gets interesting. The removal of that validation after she's gotten used to it creates a powerful craving to get it back. This is the same neurological mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. Intermittent reinforcement. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. The unpredictability creates obsessive behavior as the brain tries to figure out how to guarantee the reward. Most men make a fatal mistake. They give validation constantly and consistently. They compliment her every time they see her. They're always available, always responsive, always approving. This creates adaptation. Her brain gets used to the steady supply of validation and stops responding to it with pleasure. But when you strategically withdraw validation after establishing it, you trigger a pleasure switch. Her brain notices the absence of something it was receiving. It starts craving that dopamine hit again. And that craving manifests as her thinking about you, seeking your attention, trying to regain your approval. Here's what this looks like in practice. Early in your interactions, you give her genuine compliments and attention. You notice things about her. You make her feel seen and appreciated. You create moments where she feels validated by you. Her brain associates you with pleasure because you're providing validation. Then you pull back. Not completely, not in a mean way, but you become less available. Your responses become less immediate. Your compliments become less frequent. You're friendly. but slightly more distant than before. The contrast is what matters. Her brain notices this change. Immediately. Wait, why isn't he giving me that same validation anymore? What changed? What did I do wrong? How do I get that feeling back? This internal dialogue is her pleasure centers craving the dopamine hit you were providing. The key is the contrast. If you're always distant, she adapts to that. If you're always validating, she adapts to that. But the shift from validation to withdrawal triggers the craving response. The unpredictability is what activates the pleasure switch. This manifests as her reaching out more, texting you first, asking if everything's okay, trying harder in conversations, dressing up more when she sees you, seeking your approval through various behaviors. She's trying to get back to the state where you were validating her freely. Switch 2, the emotional contrast. Switch. The second pleasure switch is creating emotional contrast by alternating between different emotional states during your time together. This keeps her nervous system activated and creates intensity that flat, steady interactions never achieve. Here's the psychology. Human beings adapt quickly to steady emotional states. If you're consistently nice, pleasant, and agreeable, it becomes the baseline and stops creating any emotional response. But when you shift between different emotional energies, you keep her nervous system engaged and her brain producing chemicals associated with excitement. This is why women are drawn to bad boys, even though they claim to want nice guys. Bad boys naturally create emotional contrast. They're charming one moment, distant the next, playful then serious. This unpredictability keeps women emotionally engaged in ways that steady niceness never does. But you don't need to be a bad boy to activate this switch. You just need to understand how to create healthy emotional contrast that keeps interactions dynamic rather than flat. Here's what this looks like. You're having great conversation, laughing, lots of positive energy. Then you suddenly shift. You get serious for a moment. Your energy changes. Maybe you challenge something she said. Maybe you disagree with her. Maybe you just go quiet and thoughtful. The shift creates contrast. Her nervous system notices this change immediately. Her attention sharpens. She's no longer on autopilot in the conversation. She's trying to figure out the shift, reading your energy, adjusting her approach. This engagement is pleasure to her brain even though it might create slight anxiety. Then you shift back. The seriousness breaks and you're playful again. Or, after being distant for a moment, you pull her close. These shifts between emotional states create a roller coaster effect that's intensely pleasurable because it's stimulating. The key is that these shifts need to be genuine, not performed. You're not acting moody. You're allowing your actual emotional range to show. You're playful when you genuinely find something funny. You're serious when you genuinely have a serious thought. You're challenging when you genuinely disagree. The authenticity is what makes it work. Most men are so focused on being consistently pleasant that they flatten all emotional range. Every interaction is the same energy level, same friendly tone, same agreeable responses. This feels safe, but it's boring. It doesn't activate her nervous system or create the chemical responses associated with excitement. When you create contrast, you're taking her on an emotional journey. She feels multiple things during time with you: joy, slight anxiety from challenge, relief when you're warm again, excitement from unpredictability. This range of emotions creates intensity that bonds her to you. Think about movies or books that move you. They don't maintain one emotional tone throughout. They create contrast, tension, then release, conflict, then resolution, humor, then drama. This emotional variation is what creates engagement and memorable experience. You're doing the same thing in interactions. You're creating a dynamic emotional experience rather than a flat one. This activates the pleasure switch, because varied emotional stimulation is more rewarding to the brain than steady, monotone interaction. Here's how this shows up practically. You're being playful and teasing her. She's laughing. Everything's light. Then you shift. You look at her seriously and say something genuine and vulnerable. You know, I actually really appreciate how thoughtful you are about things. The tonal shift from playful to genuine creates emotional contrast. Switch 3, the physical tension and release switch. The third pleasure switch is creating and releasing physical tension through deliberate control of proximity, touch, and escalation. This triggers arousal responses that build desire and make her crave physical contact. The switch is activated through the pattern of building tension, then releasing it, then building it again. This creates waves of arousal that intensify over time and make her crave the next release. Here's what this looks like. You're sitting next to her. Instead of immediately putting your arm around her, you sit close enough that your legs are almost touching, but not quite. This proximity without contact creates tension. She's aware of how close you are. Her body is anticipating contact. You let that tension build for a while. Then you casually touch her leg while making a point in conversation. Light contact, brief. Then you remove it. That moment of contact provided release, but only partial. The tension rebuilds immediately because now she's experienced the touch in her body once more. Later, you create more tension. You lean in close to her ear to say something in a loud environment. Your proximity creates awareness of your body near hers, your breath on her neck, the almost touch of your shoulder against hers. Physical tension building. Then you pull back. The tension remains because you were close, but you didn't maintain the closeness. Her body noticed the proximity and now notices the absence. This creates craving for you to be close again. Throughout the interaction, you're creating these cycles, building tension through proximity or light touch, then pulling back. The pattern activates her nervous system and builds arousal progressively. When you activate all three switches together, you create overwhelming pleasure responses that make her think about you constantly, crave your presence, and pursue connection with you. This is how you generate genuine desire rather than hoping she happens to feel attracted. Now you know the three switches. The question is, will you start using them deliberately to create the attraction and desire you